This is Talk is Sheep, the official podcast of the Wild Sheep Society of BC, brought to you by Sitka Gear. Come along as we bring conversations that matter to you into the high alpine. This episode is sponsored by our conservation partner, Gunworks. Thank you, Sitka Gear and Gunworks, for investing in healthy wildlife and sustainable ecosystems. We are back in the studio for like an extra special session, and it's so special that our guest today, he and I dressed the same. We put on exactly the same hat. Might be considered a fashion error, and I probably could have changed my hat before we started. But hey, if I'm twinning it, I can twin like Joe Eppele. I'll take it every day. So welcome to the podcast, Joe. Great to see you.
Oh, Kyle, I'm glad I didn't have any water in my mouth because I would have spat it out with that intro. I appreciate it. I noticed you did your hair a little different than me, though. You didn't go for the, cul-de-sac up top. So maybe next time you can go that way. But yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So Hana and I are co-hosting today, and really excited to have you on the podcast. And Hana, to your credit, you've talked about getting our directors on the podcast and sort of hearing their story. And I just want to point out to our listeners that this is not like a quote, meet the director. It's prescriptive. This is just a conversation with the great people that are doing great things. And Joe, I know you're super, super passionate about conservation. Well, you work in the space, obviously, but then you're super passionate about youth and getting youth involved and stuff like that. And you've been a driving force on our board of directors for certain. And certainly, motivated me personally to up my game around getting youth involved and involved with conservation and the society and the outdoors. And, I just see it each and every day. So looking forward to doing the deep dive. And I know Hannah's got a ton of questions for you. She's been spending the last 3 days researching and doing all kinds of hard work. So anyway, welcome, Joe. Really excited that you're on our board. We Hannah, I look at our board and we're just like, we have a powerhouse of directors right now. We've got 14 directors that are incredibly passionate, anywhere from, guys and gals that are there for their first year to people that have been there for 30 years and they're just still crushing it. And it's awesome, inspiring.
Absolutely. 100% all-star lineup on our board of directors. So fortunate.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more. I'm fortunate to be a part of the team. And like I said before, definitely excited to be on the podcast. And Hannah, I hope I've got the answers you're looking for. It sounds like you've got a bunch of them. You're ready to grill me. So I'll do my best.
Yeah. So happy to have little Joe in the hot seat. Awesome. Joe is chair of our youth committee. And doing a phenomenal job, like Kyle stated already, getting youth involved in the conservation space. And I kind of wanted to go back to Joe, like how you were raised. And I've seen some stuff on Instagram of your childhood and your youth. And I really can't help but feel like that has fueled this flame in you to take charge of our youth program and get your own children involved and other children involved in conservation and the outdoors.
Yeah. I grew up in it was a small town back then, Squamish, BC. It was a small logging town. It's kind of changed its flavor a little bit over the years. But back then, it was kind of just a blue-collar logging and pulp mill town. My father was a welder, and my mother worked, some odd jobs, but she ran the local mushroom buying station. And, every fall was just about hunting and fishing at our house, mostly blacktail hunting. Things like that, maybe a little bit of mule deer hunting, but not much outside of that realm. Certainly not kind of the hunts that I'm into or that our community here at Wild Sheep Society BC is into so much. But just a deeply rooted passion for the outdoors from a very early age because it was such an exciting part of our childhood. And it also brought our family together a lot of times, no matter how busy everybody was. We took time away from everything else to go hunting as a family, to go fishing. Like I said, my mother ran the mushroom buying station, so we'd go out and do all the mushrooming. She actually worked making garlands and wreaths around Christmas time as well, so we'd go out and collect all the greens so my mom could do all of that. And to be honest, we were, I wouldn't say we grew up poor, but we weren't a family of like means per se. So anytime we were in the outdoors, we just made sure that we were doing something that was productive. So whether we were successful hunting or successful mushrooming and being able to sell the pine mushrooms. There was a big market for pine mushrooms back then, or whatever it was. We were just always productive with our time in the outdoors. And my life took me a lot of different directions from there in academics, in athletics. I had a pretty decent career in the athletic world. But to be honest, I think a lot of the lessons and values that got me through my academic career and through my athletic career, and even now in my business career, were rooted in my experiences in the outdoors. And I think it's something that's extremely important, has been important to me as an individual in my growth over the years. And that's why I always knew, no matter where my career took me, I wanted to come back to Squamish and raise my kids with the experiences I had. Through my connection with the society and my time, I was brought by a friend who just kind of looped me and said, Joe, you love hunting. You got to come check out this event. And obviously the big annual gatherings have grown a lot since then. But at the time, I attended the event and I just enjoyed the energy. Growing up, I guess going back quite a few years now, I think hunting communities used to be much stronger. They were really ingrained in the communities in different areas. Your local hardware shop or your mechanic shop would have the big buck contests. At least they did in our areas. Butcher parties, things like that were a very big part of our childhood growing up, and that's gone. And I was sad. I didn't find that when I moved back to Squamish, it wasn't around as much. It was there, but fragmented. And then when I came to my first summit with Wild Sheep Society BC, I was like, holy smokes, it's here. Yeah. And to me, that was really cool. So then being there, I was like, man, I'd love to see youth involved, just because it had been so much to me as a child. So that's where over the years, I started talking with Kyle more. Kyle kind of started bringing me into the fold and inviting me in and letting me be a part of more and more events. And then I kind of put the bug in his ear and said, you know what, I'd love to get a little more involved, but my primary initiative would be pushing for the youth side of things. And like I said earlier, I'm pretty good at going on tangents, so I hope that wasn't too much of a roundabout, but I tried to kind of, give you a bit of an idea. So outdoors was always a huge part of my life. Yeah. Taught me a ton about life. And then just growing up as a parent now, I want my kids to be involved in it. And, if other parents want to have their youth involved as well, I think creating an opportunity to bring them in the fold through such a healthy environment like we have at Wild Sheep Society BC, I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. I found it incredible at the last event in Penticton to see just the amount of little children running around, in the expo hall and in the banquet room, and there are kids everywhere. And it was just, such a family friendly atmosphere. And I can't help but feel like our youth initiative and, you and the directors really promoting that and pushing that and helping to make our events feel so inclusive is such a big part of why we saw so many kids join us for the events. That's quite a success.
Yeah, I certainly can't, take that on as my success. I brought the ideas forward, and as you mentioned, there's 14 directors as well as yourselves that are working tirelessly throughout the year, and a ton of volunteers, and definitely a group effort, group initiative, and it's a delicate balance, making sure that it's still a fun, environment for the adults and doesn't take away from that side of things, but making an inclusive family event as well. But in my opinion, I think it's certainly kind of brought it to a new level, which is really exciting. And it's creating a funnel for the next generation of, members and conservationists and bringing them up to understand the importance behind everything, not just focusing on the front side of things, which a lot of people see in the media, which is just the hunting aspect. There's so much more to being involved in this community than just going out and cutting tags.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Joe, do you think if we don't do this stewardship, if we don't build that next generation, that we're in trouble? We've got all these programs now that we're trying to deal with I just did a podcast with Dan Gates, who's phenomenal human being and just incredible guy, and just talking kind of the future of hunting and some of the many challenges against hunters, conservation, even science-based wildlife management. And as hunters been doing the stewardship and doing what they need to, and is the future of hunting contingent on that stewardship in over the next couple of decades, or are we in a lot of trouble? I'm just kind of trying to I've got a perspective on it, and I just love to hear and I know you're not doing it because you're thinking, oh, like, or maybe you are, maybe it's very intentional. Maybe you're like, oh, I'm thinking about my kids. Or is it like, I know it's from a place of honesty and like, you know, you want people to be involved, kids to be involved, but is it like, you know, how important is it? Like, is it absolutely crucial, or are we screwed if we don't?
I think it's extremely important. I will say I was very deliberate in my approach to this because my primary fear now is as a father, I want my children to have the access to the outdoors that I had. Like the big part of my life goal from like when I was in my teens was whenever I have kids, I want to raise them in the outdoors and let them have the same experiences that I had and be an active participant in the outdoors and in nature, not just be there, but to be able to be an active participant, learn those lessons. And I think if we're not proactive in our approach, we are going to lose that. I think when we were younger, we didn't have to be as vocal. I mentioned that the communities were much stronger. They were more readily available. I think nowadays youth are far more likely to be removed from the outdoors. They might still play sports outdoors, but I mean, heck, half the sports you play are on turf. Like you're not even playing on real grass, right? Like you're in city centers, you're not going on hikes. Parents are busier. They're present, but I just don't think there's as many opportunities for youth to get introduced to the outdoors these days. Like summer camps, all of that stuff used to be so regular and you were always out and about. Now kids are going to like video game camps and you know, a lot of stuff in city centers versus being outdoors. So I think I've always said that population is kind of fragmented. You have speaking loosely, 10% on either end of the spectrum. 10% is very, very passionate about the outdoors and hunting. 10% is very against it. And there's 80% in the middle that don't necessarily know where they stand. Now, those people are going to gravitate towards the voice that they hear the most consistently and the loudest. And I think in the past, the outdoors just spoke for itself because as soon as you were in the outdoors, you saw everything firsthand. Like it awakens something inside of you. You know that you belong there. You know what it is. Well, now if people aren't naturally introduced to it, the likelihood of more people being pulled the opposite direction and the availability of misinformation from the other side as well.
Absolutely.
I think being involved in the outdoors, there's already a lot of misconceptions and things that we face on a daily basis. But the opposition, if you will, I don't really know the proper term to put on them. They're allowed to use kind of just heartstring one-liners and headliners that just pull people in the wrong direction, and they're not fact-checked to the same way we are. Because we already have these misconceptions against us, I feel like people fact-check us a lot more as well. So I think we have to be very educated and very diligent in our approach. I think we have to put our best foot forward at all times. And you know, when we say we're conservationists, I think as people that truly have passion for the outdoors, like we really have to back it. And I think that's probably why, you know, Kyle, as you kind of, I will, you know, you brought me into the fold in a big way from me coming around just to events and being out there to you actually kind of roped me in saying, hey, Joe, you should run for board and things like that. So I appreciate that. But, you know, I guess I would say part of my maturing, I don't know that I've matured, but part of my maturing is understanding that your actions have to reflect what you say you are. So, you know, actually putting my best foot forward and trying to, I'm on a board with 14 other individuals that I feel outwork me on a constant basis, but trying to do my part to, you know, educate the next generation, create that funnel of the next conservationists, the people that truly care, because I really do feel that if these initiatives fall to the wayside, a lot of these opportunities will not be there for the next, and I'm not talking generations down the road, like the next, you know, 1 to 2 generations will not have that access. A lot of these populations will not be there. The wildlife will not be on the hillsides. So yeah, I would say that what we're doing is extremely important. And that's why I'm willing to, you know, step forward and try and help and have an impact, because I've got a 4.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, and the thought of them not being able to go pick up some hunting tags and spend time in the outdoors and be an active participant, like that scares the heck out of me.
Absolutely. Very well said. I'm curious, Kyle. This is about Joe, not about you, but Joe referenced butcher parties and being able to say maybe perhaps go buy hunting licenses and tags at the local hardware store. Was it like that where you grew up in small town Alberta?
Oh, good question. I grew up in a very, very, very remote area.
Yes. Yeah.
And the nearest hardware store was 60 miles away. Yeah. So, it was probably like that. Alberta was weird because you couldn't get a hunting license till you were 14. So the concept of getting a 10 here in BC, was just foreign to me and amazing. I think it's great. And actually interesting now, I've learned that there's some jurisdictions that they've gotten rid of the age there's no age for a hunting license. You can go and get a hunting license in certain jurisdictions, no matter what your age is. Obviously being supervised, which is very interesting, right? But yeah, I don't know, Hannah. It was certainly not a ton of barriers to entry. We did have to do hunter education when I was 14. So, and that was freaking eons ago, 4 decades ago. So I guess there was that, but I would say the accessibility of the outdoors was widely promoted. But
yep.
I think that we were in a super, super rural area. The nearest city, like I said, was 60 miles. Well, the nearest town of 1,000 people was 60 miles away. So
wow.
Yeah.
I guess primarily though, growing up the way that you did and the way that Joe did, and I know for myself as well, we were all very incredibly connected to where it was that our food was coming from, where our meat was coming from. And obviously this is something that you're trying to instill in your boys and now foster through this youth initiative. Very, very important stuff.
Absolutely. I think the connection to where your food comes from is, it's important. It teaches you, obviously the importance of the habitat and having that resource available for us, and it makes it an actual resource. I've traveled to different countries as well and hunted in different places, and when the wildlife is no longer treated like a resource, it's typically over harvested. It's not governed or managed properly. I've been to countries where they have introduced species that are treated like a resource, but their native species are not treated like a resource. The introduced populations are extremely healthy, but the native ones are neglected, and their habitats are removed and things like that. So it creates a lot of problems. So it's not just about the ability to hunt. It's about honestly the the mindset behind the conservation that gives those animals the habitat to be there. The prevention of logging of essential habitats, things like that as well. There's a lot of levels to it. But
absolutely. So when you dove into your athletic career, do you feel like that kind of took you away from your roots? Did it take you away from these things that you love and that you're passionate about and that you're trying to educate the world on now with the platform that you have?
Yeah, it did. I can remember. So the only football season I ever missed, I got involved with community league, like GSL, I think is what it was called here, for community football. And my first or second year, I missed a few hunts with my dad, and my brother got to go on more hunts than me. And I cried so much that I quit football the next year.
Aww.
And and then my dad was like, "Okay, well, we can't do that again," because I wasn't involved in the football. So he promised that we'd work around my schedule and make it happen after that. So I kind of balanced it a little bit, but when I got to the next level, I went down to Washington State. I played college ball down there, and there wasn't much room in my schedule for additional activities outside of football and school. So I will say that I did lose quite a few good years of time in the outdoors, but I wouldn't say it was wasted. It created a lot of opportunities, and I had some pretty cool experiences there. But one thing that I always said throughout that entire time was a lot of the dedication, the hard work, the ability to deal with losses, feeling like you did everything right and still losing a game, whatever it may be. A lot of those skills that I found helped me in my athletic career. I think I would say 100% stemmed from experiences in the outdoors. Because my dad was stubborn. He liked to hike, and it was like, well, if you want to come hunting with me, you're not sitting in the truck. We're going to go hike. It's going to be nasty. And coastal BC, it's even when it's snow, it's sloppy, nasty slush, and you're cold, you're tired, you're hungry. We didn't have all the fancy gear I have now. It was hand-me-down logging clothes, old
Yep.
boots and a power bar. You used to pick power bars up at the gas station. I have a power bar in each back pocket, a few shells in my pocket, and old 308 in my hand, and away we went. And that's what you did, right? Wherever you shot the animal, you drug it back to the truck. There was no breaking it down and packing them out on multiple trips.
Yep.
So you really, you learn fast, like the importance of hard work, dedication, getting through things, doing everything right, still not getting the payoff you wanted. A lot of really valuable life lessons came from time in the outdoors.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So while you were pursuing this athletic career, you're going to college. Obviously, you were taking courses that have no doubt aided you in pursuing this path that you are on now. So what courses were you taking when you were going to college, university, that sort of helped you down this road?
In high school, I really gravitated towards hard sciences. I really liked physics, math, like different things like that, where you could come to like a finite answer and you knew exactly what you're doing. The arts I wasn't the best on, but when I went to Washington State, they try and balance out your course load because they understand you're going to have a lot on your plate. I ended up with a bachelor's of science in psychology, and then I had 2 or 3 minors. I quit a year early. To be honest, I left my college career a year early. I ended up pursuing my professional career, but I was on track to either get my master's while I was there as well, or to end up with 2 more degrees. So I had enough credits where I could have, with 1 more year, completed 2 more degrees, but pivoted away from that.
Yeah, good for you. And
fun.
is that something that you would, do you think you would recommend individuals that are maybe wanting to get into the hunting industry with the same aspirations that you have to, further educate and better the world of conservation? Would you direct youth in that direction, do you think? Something along those lines?
Towards like going to university and getting a good
Yeah,
education?
hard sciences, biology, so on and so forth.
100%. I mean, yeah, one of the biggest things that'll further your career, regardless of what you're doing, is being able to add value to others, right? So whether you're adding value through a better education, through life experiences, whatever it may be, the more value you can bring to the table, the better you're gonna do. I mean, as an athlete, I would say too many athletes go in and focus on just, I'm going to be an athlete and that's going to be what gets me there. I saw a lot of phenomenal athletes not make it, and I kind of realized, like, my opportunity in being there was I needed to make sure I got a really good education, because the likelihood, the reality was I probably wasn't going to have a career in professional sports. Now, it happened to go the other direction. I got lucky, but it was still, I mean, professional sports is a short career, at least especially in football. So I pivoted away. I quit football. I quit pro football 5 years later. I had a good academic background. And then I still went back. I ended up getting my master's when I retired. So I retired to go back and get my master's.
Good for you.
My MBA. That's why I quit. But again, my previous academic background at Washington State is what gave me so much confidence to go and continue my degree. And then, it gives you the freedom to pursue whatever careers you want. And I've been fortunate. I've pursued a career and something I'm very passionate about, in my day job. And then I'm able to come on a board and, hopefully offer a little bit of value at times there as well.
I think you're doing a bang up job.
You guys are helping us. We'd be lost without you.
And then, so from there, what ultimately led you into this career path that you found now?
Yeah, with Wild TV.
Yeah. What led you into the hunting scene, into the hunting community as you sit right now?
Yeah, good question. Well, I retired from football. I was living in Ontario still because I was playing for the Toronto Argonauts. And at the time, I was sponsored by an athletic supplement company. And I called them up. I went back to school. I got my MBA. And I told them that Western Canada, their numbers weren't great in Western Canada. They didn't have penetration. So I called them. I said, quitting football. You guys are going to, well, I had already quit, but I got my master's. And I was like, I'm going to move back to British Columbia, and I'm going to, blow your company up in Western Canada. And that's how it's going to be. And at the time, athletic supplements were pertinent to my life. Like, they made sense because I was an athlete. And I moved back to Western Canada. I was very successful in growing the company. They more than double, triple, or I can't remember what our numbers were in Western Canada. They got huge, but I found the industry very, I just didn't love the industry. A lot of egos, backstab, and it was just the athletic supplement. Yeah, I mean, you can imagine it's gym bros, and nothing against people that love the fitness industry, but it just wasn't something I was passionate about. So I started keeping an eye out for opportunities in the outdoor world. I just knew it was something that I wanted to be more involved with, and I thought it was going to be on like a basic level, back office with a company, and just kind of work towards that direction. I told Kristen, she was my girlfriend at the time, but married now. That was my goal. And at the time we were renting our place. I didn't have a mortgage, didn't have kids. It wasn't a big gamble. So an opportunity came up with Wild TV, just like one step above sweeping the floors, basically. And I did up my resume, sent it in, and on my resume, I included all the work I've done, PR work, community work through all the professional sports, things like that. My academic background, my history as an outdoorsman, and kind of fluffed up my resume as much as I could. And they got back in touch, and I was hired for the sales job. They said I was overqualified. And for that position, because it was not a very good position when I took it. But I took the position, and then with all of the work I had done in front of a camera, they offered me an opportunity to basically test host as a host of a show. I was going to do 2 episodes that season, and it was going to be a sink or swim situation. My contract stated that at any point in time they could fire me at 2 weeks notice for no reason.
No pressure.
Yep, let's do it. Let's go. And kind of went in there, and I was just passionate about it. And fortunately enough, was able to pull the wool over their eyes at Wild TV, and they've kept me around for, I guess, going on 8 years now. Been hosting the show, and I've worked my way up from where I was. Again, the importance is just being able to add value. Tried to add value in any way I could. And now I'm technically the director of business development for the Wild TV family of companies. So we have quite a few different TV networks now, a big production company behind them. And like I mentioned, I've been hosting The Edge now. I think we're filming my 8th season with the show now, which is kind of crazy to say. Just like I said, just pursuing my passions basically is how I ended up where I'm at.
Absolutely.
I hope I answered your question. Sorry.
Yeah, no, what a phenomenal lesson for anybody listening that's maybe at that point in their life right now where they're wondering what direction to take and how they can make a difference themselves in the conservation community. Follow your passion. Look at where it led you.
It works out. I will say, originally, I looked back when I was in like elementary school, and they give you those sheets and you talk about what your dreams are and stuff. And growing up, I used to watch all the hunting shows and everything. And when I was really young, I used to list hunting as a career. And then I think as reality sunk in, I realized it was never going to happen. So I started listing professional sports as my backup plan. And I truly believe I pursued that career because I thought that, a career in the outdoor world was just unattainable and unrealistic. So I went and I chased that other dream as I was never truly passionate about football the way I am about the outdoors. I just happened to be big, and they always said you can't coach size. So it worked out, but it created opportunities where if I had chased the outdoor world first, I don't think it ever would have happened. So it created those opportunities. But then again, like investing in myself too, when I went back to my master's program, everybody in my in my MBA program, they were there, trying to be Six Sigma for these big corporations or working for Pfizer, or they wanted to work on Bay Street in finance. And those were their goals. They wanted to work for Pepsi or anybody like that, the big corporations. And I told everybody, I was like, I'm here so I can have enough value that I can move back home in a small town and create my own opportunities. And that was kind of definitely going against the grain. And everybody in my program thought I was an idiot for doing it, thought I was an idiot for wasting money on a MBA program. And just, they tried to talk me out of it or tried to talk me into doing and chasing the dreams that they had. I had huge opportunities on those side of things, and I turned them all down just because I kind of bet on myself, and I guess it paid off a bit.
Good for you. Exceptional lesson for our listeners. Absolutely. Essentially, every step you took in life led you to this.
In a way, yeah. Just got to keep your eyes open for opportunities and don't be afraid to take some big leaps when they do show up. Because, I had some big opportunities that opened up, and I look back at it, and at any point in time, if I had said no to, I moved away from home when I was 16 to pursue my athletic career. And that was a tough one. You're going into your senior year at high school. I moved away from home and things like that. And I missed out on a lot of really fun high school parties and a lot of things like that. But I tell you what, the high school parties were probably fun, but I guarantee the college parties were better. And I missed out on a lot of college parties to pursue other careers. And I promise you, professional parties are a lot more, pro league parties are a lot more exciting. A Grey Cup championship party is a lot more exciting than missing a few college parties. And yeah, it's kind of a balance of, taking the opportunities when they're there and knowing when to sacrifice and give up on other opportunities as well.
Very wise. Very wise. So you mentioned your girlfriend, Kristen, who is now your wife. Did you two meet over in Ontario?
We did. Yeah.
Okay.
We met when I was in Ontario. We met on one of those lovely dating apps.
Oh.
Well, we can go into the weeds on that if we've got time.
Yeah, wow, that's different for a country boy.
Yeah. So I had been dating another gal for, I think it was roughly 3 years.
We're opening up a whole can of worms here now.
Yeah, we're going deep. We're going to go deep. I'll keep it quick though. But I've been dating another gal for roughly 3 years. After I retired from football, she said she needed some time before she was ready to move back to British Columbia. So I was going through my MBA program. I committed to doing my MBA program in Ontario rather than looking at other programs. I was either going to go back to Washington State or look at UBC, but I decided to stay in Ontario. I bought a gym, and I had my dog, and I moved into an apartment. And the week before I started my MBA program, I looked at my girlfriend at the time, and I was like, "You're not the one for me." And I booted her out. and I was starting an executive MBA program, so it was like beyond full time. I was going to try and do a 16-month MBA program in 11 months was my goal, which I ended up doing. I had my dog at home. I bought my gym, and I had fired a lot of the staff that I realized were dead weight. So I was restaffing a gym. And like I said, I had a dog at home. So I was going through all of this, and I had no girlfriend. You
needed a dog sitter is what you needed.
Yeah, I was definitely burning myself out. And then, so we kind of linked up on one of these apps, and we kept trying to set up a date, and it never worked out. And did not expect to talk about dating on this call, by the way.
Trust a girl to take it down that path, eh?
Yeah, and anyways, I kept canceling on her. And then finally one day she said, "Why do you keep canceling on me?" I was like, "To be honest, I have to take my dog for walks in the evenings. I don't have time." So I was like, "But if you're up for it, you can come along. I'm taking my dog for a walk." And so I was like, "Where are you?" And she lived in downtown Toronto. I lived in Mississauga. She happened to be at her friend's house, which was 400 meters from my place that I was living at. We didn't realize that. So I was like, "Well, you're close enough." So we went to Dairy Queen, got some ice cream, and then we went to a dog park, went on a walk. And yeah, the date went really well, but at the end it was very kind of weird. It was going very well, and then all of a sudden she was like, "Okay, I got to leave." And she just blew out of there. I was like, I don't know what I did wrong. I completely screwed this up. And so she took off, and I messaged my buddy. I was like, "Well, I'm never seeing her again. That's it." And I didn't hear much from her. And then she ended up messaging me back later and was like, "Sorry, I just had to take off. I was afraid we were going to kiss or something, and I didn't want to go too soon." So she buggered out of there. I was like, "I'm so glad you messaged me, because I thought I had offended you or scared you, and I was never going to message you again." But yeah, it took a long time for us to be able to spend time together because I was just so busy then. But that happened. And then a few months later, she ended up moving in with me. And a year later, after we officially started dating, I had proposed already. And
you just knew.
Yeah, it just made sense. It worked. She put up with me when I was absolutely crazy busy and running on fumes. And
patient woman.
Yeah, she's still a very patient woman, I tell you that.
Honestly, I wasn't expecting to get the whole backstory to how you and Kristen got together, but I'm glad you shared that with us. But what I wanted to get into was, I don't believe Kristen was a hunter when you met her, was she?
No,
how did you go ahead?
I was going to say she loved the outdoors, and she loved riding horses and all of that kind of stuff, but she wasn't into hunting or fishing or any of that.
Yeah. So you converted her, essentially. You moved her back to Hicksville, British Columbia, had a family, and now you've got this beautiful, wonderful hunting family of your own. How did you just start taking her out with you? How did you get her immersed in this world of yours?
I've always been very stubborn and set in my ways and very clear on what my goals and plans were. So when we met, it didn't take long for her to realize, like, okay, this is who I'm, dating. I was big into the outdoors. Being in Ontario, I didn't hunt as much back then. But fishing, being outdoors, all of that was always a big part of my discussion. I told her right out of the gates, I'm going to be moving back to BC. This is my plan. If you can envision this with me, this can work. And I think that's part of why we worked so well is it seemed to align well with what she was looking for in life as well. So it worked out. And yeah, just spending time outdoors. It's very much a part of our lifestyle. During the week, rather than going out to a restaurant, we're grabbing peaks and, going and having dehydrated meals up on the side of a mountain and glassing and doing that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what our goal was in life. So it seems to work for us as a family.
Yeah.
And now she's a very successful hunter. I swear she's a better shot than me. She's got the most, I guess, trophy class animal in this household as well, with the bear she shot last spring.
Yeah, I saw.
So she's done a darn good job. I don't know why I'm still on the show and she hasn't taken my spot yet, but I'm holding on for dear life.
We're waiting for that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. And now you guys are raising your little family in the outdoors, and you're just such a phenomenal advocate for youth and families in the hunting and conservation space. We're very lucky to have you.
I certainly appreciate it. Yeah, I think one conversation I have a lot is with friends or other people in the hunting community that are almost afraid to have kids because they're afraid it's going to take them away from their time outdoors or pull them away. And I think if you don't bring them into the fold and you try and keep the two separate, I can see how it would take you away from it. But to me, the outdoors has only gotten better by being able to get my kids and my wife out there, getting to see it through their eyes for the first time. It takes you right back to your childhood, or it makes you remember things that maybe you take for granted now because you've seen them so often. And it's a ton of fun. So that's something that I talk about a lot, and probably again, full circle, why I've wanted to get the youth initiative going so much with Wild Sheep Society BC.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everything is a brand new experience in their eyes, and you're witnessing it through them.
It teaches you a lot about patience too.
Yeah, no doubt.
A lot about patience.
Yeah. Sorry, Kyle. It looked like I was interrupting you right when you were taking a deep breath to say something there.
No, I'm just enjoying to hear the conversation. But one thing I was wondering, Joe, is can you share a little bit of your vision about your half curl membership? It's a real new concept that you brought to the society, and just love the way it works, and just kind of share that vision on what it is and why it's important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we brought it to the table, the general idea is just creating a funnel or giving a buy-in to our youth and to the Wild Sheep Society BC community in a way, if you will. I know we've kind of created as a caveat. It's not a full life membership. It's basically a half term or a half level lifetime membership, but it creates unique opportunities for the youth that are involved in the community. And the goal is to create that buy-in for them as well, and give it, as a father, I'll say selfishly, I'm really excited I'm proud that my two sons are half curl members. But for them, I'm hoping that it gives them more drive to learn more about it, because they're actually a part of it. And there is opportunities for different raffles, different draws, prizes, but they are a part of something. So I'm hoping that it'll, again, pull them into the fold a little bit more along the way. And then, we kind of have that cutoff. I believe we decided on 18 is the year where they'll have the opportunity to transition and be presented with their full lifetime plaque if they decide to go that direction, and kind of that coming of age ceremony as well. And my hope is to create like a healthy funnel basically into driving those next generations of conservationists. And at times, and I think historically, some of these groups have been looked at as kind of old boys clubs, and clubs that are more so about like selfish reasons for being involved in the outdoors and being involved in conservation. And I think putting those efforts into our youth and the next generation really does show that it's not just about, the old boys club or the old folks the old Hunters Club, it's not just about selfishly looking after our opportunities. It really is about driving those opportunities for the next generation. Because if it was just about us, like the older population, like a lot of the initiatives that we're working on right now, they're important, but they're not that important, right? But when we're looking at 20, 40, 60, 100 years down the road, that's when all these things are, it's not just, okay, are they important? They are absolutely essential. Otherwise, this is going to disappear. So I think, creating that funnel with the next generation, also some of the different programs we're looking at in creating funding opportunities for students that want to, pursue hard sciences that do benefit the society as well. I think, the more youth that are interested and aware of what it means to be a conservationist, the more likely we are to see some of those youth take that direction in life and pursue those passions earlier on, I guess.
Very well said.
Yeah, it's awesome, Joe. And, to yours and Hannah's point earlier on is that you see that next generation of conservationists, the next, a lot of them are our current members, these youngsters and as little as, newborns that are, walking around as a half curl or a life membership. And it is incredibly inspiring to see. And it has changed. And I don't think it's diminished anything. I don't feel like, I don't get any hate mail from the old boys club where like, you messed up my drinking weekend with the boys, It's just, it doesn't happen. There's something for everybody at our show. And my hat's off to you and the board of directors for having that vision for creating that, because it wasn't like that. I don't know if you remember your first show, and I do. It just didn't have the same feel. Like, I'm not saying there weren't any kids there, but it just didn't. It had a very different vibe. And I feel like we're just kind of hitting our stride now. I feel like, just like with anything, like you've got the vision and the drive and the commitment to it, but it takes time to build these things. And I think that momentum is building, and I'm excited to see where it goes, because I feel it's going to be really positive.
Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more.
I think we're at 30. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
No, you go ahead. I insist.
Oh, no, this is about you. This isn't about me. We're here to talk to you.
No, I was just going to say, I think one of the biggest things, and to be honest, when I first pitched the idea to you, Kyle, because I pitched the idea of the youth program to you, and you kind of filled me in a bit more on, how much the board really does have to juggle and balance throughout the year. Because the thing to keep in mind is, like, the board is a group of volunteers. The bandwidth is, like, there's a realistic capacity on the bandwidth. So, and the concern of, making sure that we're maintaining the community and building it that way, and then also building a new branch to it. So, when I first pitched it to you and you kind of said, Joe, I love what you're talking about, but it's not as easy as you think. That's what, brought me into the fold. And then I came in behind the scenes and I saw a lot more about what it is. But again, that was the whole board that was behind making sure that if we did bring it on, there was a lot of things that, a lot of considerations, things that I hadn't initially thought of that were presented to us. So it seems simple, like, just launching a program and creating a youth initiative. But the amount of background work that was done by yourselves as well as the rest of the board, and making sure that we looked at things from multiple different angles, like it was a big undertaking. And that's why seeing it take off now, and, seeing the plaque presentations at the Lifetime Breakfast and things like that, it's really cool seeing it start to take shape. But again, like baby steps, right? It's going in baby steps, but I do think it's growing, and it's creating a healthy, a sustainable growth with the society, but it's also creating a much more fun and inclusive environment. And I was worried the first time we brought our kids to the banquets, and I was concerned that, we'd get some side eyes because, we've got our kids on our laps. And the first time I was up on stage emceeing the one night in Walker, and Chase ran across the stage behind me. But again, like the community is very warm and welcoming. And that's why, like, I did it the first year and I brought some friends. And then since then, like, if you guys saw it this year at my table, like there was kids everywhere. And it really has become a fun night for kids to be there, and everybody, whether they have kids at their table or not, are very warm and welcoming with the kids that are running around. So I guess one thing too is for people listening, like if you've got kids and you're concerned about, your kids might not be the best behaved ones at the restaurant. My son literally chased his friend across the stage while I was speaking.
It was so awesome.
It
was so awesome.
What I've done at these shows. And everybody is understanding and warm and welcoming about it. So it's a very fun event. It's a fun community. And yeah, absolutely. There should be no hesitation in wanting to bring your youth into the society and get them involved.
We even had volunteers attend Penticton this last year and brought their children with them when they were volunteering all day. The kids were great. They were, making noise, playing around underneath the tables. But no, it was awesome. It was so inclusive and so enjoyable. Just a great thing to see.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. And they get the cool little headbands too now.
They do.
Those.
So we have 37 half curl members currently. And for those of you listening, if you're thinking, if you're on the fence about purchasing a half curl membership for your child, it is a $500 initial commitment. Once they reach the age of 18, then they or you can choose to pay out the remaining $500, and they will be a fully fledged life member. These little guys, they get a half curl plaque with their name that is done by Dallas Matson of Twisted North Design, and they get their very own custom Don Stevenson knife. So pretty awesome program.
Yeah, really exciting. And right now as well, there's the Euro mounting.
That's right.
Yes. On as one free certificate for a Euro mount as well through, I can't remember the name of the organization.
Hunters Union, I think it is.
Hunters Union, yeah.
As well. So, I mean, like if you look at the value of what you're getting and you're creating opportunities for exclusive, prizes that are only available to youth members as well, things like that. So, there's a lot of really cool opportunities. You can go half curl, or they can choose to go full lifetime members right out of the gates. But there's certainly a lot of reasons to get involved, I would say.
For sure.
And then for anyone that, if they don't have the means or interest in that, you can do a 1-year membership and just buy a youth membership, and it's basically the cost of going to Starbucks these days. And
so true.
You get your 4 magazines and some cool stuff. Hana sends out stickers and all kinds of stuff. So it's such a cool thing for youth to get involved in. It's a lost leader for us. We're going backwards, and it's worth every penny. It's awesome to get those youth involved and interested and get that magazine with their own name on it. It's pretty cool.
Yes. So, skip the latte, buy your child a youth membership to the Wild Sheep Society BC.
Joe, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about, before you got involved with the society, you were the face of, the sort of the hunting community. You'd be on CBC talking about mountain lion hunting, and you're so articulate, you're so well spoken, and you did an incredible job. And I have to think that your experience as a professional football player and that experience there probably was an asset, but you obviously are predisposed to it as well, and obviously now with the TV show. But you've kind of spoken for the community and done an incredible job. Can you sort of talk to the importance of communication and hunting communication and stewardship? So there's the youth part, but let's just shelve that for just a moment and talk about the calm side of it and why that's so critical. And we've got our One Campfire program, our Hunter Heritage. Worrying about the future of hunting. Sort of speak to that for us, Joe.
Oh. I thought we were through the guts and feathers and all the tough questions were behind us, and then you lay that on me. Okay.
Why do you see what I'm dealing with? That's my boss.
Yeah, I thought you had all the tough questions, and then Kyle just blindsides me. I'll say I appreciate the kind words. I hated public speaking. I still hate public speaking. It was always a big fear of mine growing up. So, but I did pursue a lot of opportunities to, throughout my athletic career, speak in organizations or speak to schools, and it kind of gave me opportunities. I was coached and trained at different levels on how to speak in front of rooms as a professional athlete, and as an athlete at Washington State. We were coached on how you speak in the locker room, and then how you speak in the media room. So when you're approached by reporters and things like that. So you're kind of coached up on it. And one of the biggest things that I've kind of carried through my career is, like, we're all part of group chats. We're all part of groups and things like that where you rib each other and you talk smack and you do different things. But there's a big difference between locker room talk and media room talk. And the biggest thing that I've seen is, as a community, a lot of the time, just because of our backgrounds and things like that, and the way things have been historically, we could just speak our minds and never worry about how it impacted us as a community. Well, now with with the readiness of social media platforms, but then also these, I alluded to it earlier, the opposition, if you will, their ability to just post pictures and put a one-line or a heartstring or like a heart-tugging caption above it can really sewer us as a community. I think the biggest thing and the biggest need is being able to separate locker room talk, keep locker room talk in the locker room. And when you're in the media, like when you're in the public eye, whether you're on social media, whether you're speaking at a conference, whether you're speaking amongst a group of individuals who you may not know some of them, like I really do think it's important for us to always be putting our best foot forward and understanding the difference and understanding the impact of sometimes just dropping a one-liner that you could drop at Hunt Camp, understanding what that could do if taken out of context, because we've seen it countless times. I mean, there's some stuff that's gone on recently in the media where a video, a picture, or a caption taken out of context can absolutely change the direction of what's done, what's said, and what's intended. So in my mind, I'm fortunate. I've been given a platform at multiple times throughout my life for one reason or another, whether it's through athletics, whether it's through academics, or whether it's through, I guess, my professional career and what I do with Wild TV and what I do with the show. I've been put in a position where, like when I was with the Argonauts, they knew I hunted. I always was very open about the fact I was involved in the outdoors, and that the cougar hunt went viral, which at the time I didn't know Steve Eklund. Now him and I have been co-hosting The Edge together for 8 years. But I went on the news because I understand that the hunting community was under attack. Now they called me at 7 that morning, and they asked me to come on, and I asked if I could go as late in the afternoon as possible. And that time between that phone call, I canceled everything I had if I was going to go on the news, and I did all the research. I'd never hunted cougar before. I'd never hound hunted, but I called anybody I could that would talk to me about it. I tried to get all the information. I did all the research on the biology behind, tag allocations for cougars, harvest rates, everything, to make sure that I was going to, when I was on live news, that I could represent the hunting community properly. Because the reality of it is, anytime we're put on a hot seat, they are going to come at us from every angle, and they're going to try and get that one mistake or that one slip up out of us.
Yes.
So the biggest thing I've ever done is like go in and be guarded, and I've always known, even if the person seems really pleasant to me on a call, like I'm prepared, and I'm just assuming they're going to try and get me to slip up so they can, because a lot of these media agencies, they just want that headline that sells, right? So doing the research, being guarded in what you're saying, and making sure you're representing the community in the best way possible. That's kind of what I've aimed for. I'm sure I've slipped up at times. I mean, I have my social media, and I'm not perfect, but like my goal is to kind of always maintain that trend of representing the community in a positive light.
Yeah, I have to say, I feel like you are a leader in that. You like when you listen, when you talk about something in our community, I'm listening, because just the messaging and just even, I think as hunters, everyone sort of has this, you talk about locker room talk, right? And I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole too far, but slightly, but people on social media think that this is their personal locker room. And yeah, you're entitled to it, but then you're also entitled to the wrath of the outcome of that. And I do feel that, having some restraint and thinking, being intentional about what you're posting is critical. And I know for you, like particularly, it's more challenging because you do have the media eye on you. Like everybody's watching you more so than the average person. But all it takes is, somebody to post something on their social and somebody not understand it, and now you've turned someone off hunting forever. That's never going to change, right? So just want to say that I really appreciate your messaging, and like if anyone gets it, I think that you are probably the strongest person that I know in communicating what you do. I think it's phenomenal, and I just want to commend you on it, and really grateful for. I'd love to have you more involved on that side of the board, but you're already like. Right. Everyone else is grabbing you for other areas, youth, and a million other ways. So really grateful for the work that you do there, Joe. So
I appreciate it. I'm not sure I deserve all the kind words you just said, but I certainly appreciate it, Kyle. Thank you.
Awesome. Hannah, what else you got?
Yeah, what he really thinks is going to be saved for that locker room talk.
Well, exactly. That was media room talk, Kyle. I can't wait for the locker room.
Well, I'd like to keep rolling, but Joe informed us before we began this podcast that he does have to pick up his children from daycare. So I think he probably got to get rolling here fairly soon. We can keep
Holy
rolling
smoke,
if you want.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
I know and you're having fun, eh? I'm looking out for you, buddy.
Two grumpy boys if I missed that. So yeah, that's probably a good call.
Amazing. Well, Joe, I can't thank you enough for your leadership and what you bring to the table as a director. And you've already done so much on our board of directors and for our hunting space and our hunting community, the conservation community. And I'm really, really excited about what's coming down the pipe. It's awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yep.
Kyle, Hannah, I appreciate it. I'd be lost without you guys. And to be honest, like I said at the beginning, the biggest challenge for me in being on the board is trying to keep up with the other the other directors, I guess 14 directors, and not feeling like I'm the dead weight pulling everybody back down. So, I just got brought back on for my second term, which was really exciting. And we had a group of I've never seen that many people come forward and apply. And I honestly, when I stood up there after hearing everybody else talk, I was like, this might be the year. I might be a one and done term because I don't know if I deserve to be on that board. And I was very honored to be selected to be back on. And not just myself, we have a really impressive group of people that are driving this force. And just honored to be one of the bodies sitting in the chair. So yeah, thanks for having me aboard.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joe. Appreciate your time today.
Great stuff. Thanks, Joe.